Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Good morning, it's time to have some fun. Good morning, friends. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. We're going to learn all about the river today and all the animals that live in the river. We'll learn about adaptations that the animals have to help them to be able to survive in the water. So we're going to start with a book called Over in the River, and then we're going to go on a virtual hike learning all about those adaptations of the animals that live in the river. Come along and join me. Over in a River Flowing Out to Sea by Marianne Berkes, illustrated by Jill Dubin. Over in a river where the warm waters run lived a mother manatee and her little calf, one. Paddle, said the mother. I paddle, said the one. So they paddled in a river where the warm waters run. Over in a river where the cattails grew lived a mother blue heron and her little chicks, two. Stand, said the mother. We stand, said the two. So they stood like statues where the cattails grew. Over in a river flowing out to sea lived a mother wild salmon and her little smolts, three. Splash, said the mother. We splash, said the three. So they splashed down a river flowing out to the sea. Over in a river, in a nest on the shore, lived a mother mallard duck and her little ducklings, four. Waddle, said the mother. We waddle, said the four. So they waddled to a river from their nest on the shore. Over in a river where they swallowed prey alive, lived a mother water snake and her little hatchlings, five. Slither, said the mother. We slither, said the five. So they slithered by a river where they swallowed prey alive. Over in a river, in their lodge built with sticks, lived a busy mother beaver and her little kits, six. Gnaw, said the mother. We gnaw, said the six. So they gnawed on bark near their lodge built with sticks. Over in a river, darting up toward heaven, lived a mother dragonfly and her dragonflies, seven. Whirl, said the mother. We whirl, said the seven. So they whirled above a river, darting up toward heaven. Over in a river where they could communicate lived a furry mother muskrat and her little kits, eight. Squeal, said the mother. We squeal, said the eight. So they squealed in a river where they could communicate. Over in a river in the warm sunshine lived a mother tree frog and her little froglets, nine. Hop, said the mother. We hop, said the nine. So they hopped to a river in the warm sunshine. Over in a river where they played in their den lived a father river otter and his little pups, 10. Slide, said the father. We slide, said the 10. So they slid in the mud and they played in their den. Over in a river flowing out to sea, river animals have homes, swimming wild and flying free. Find the river babies from 10 to 1. Then go back and start over, 'cause this rhyme isn't done. Over in a river you can spy with your eyes to find 10 hidden creatures. Every page has a surprise. An adaptation is a thing that an animal has on their body that helps them to survive in the cold water or in the air. So for us today, we're going to learn all about animals and the things that they have to help them be able to survive in the water and underneath the water. Like these geese. These geese have adaptations that help them to be able to swim in the cold water. Even though there's still a little bit of snow snow and ice along the river, the geese are still able to go in the river and stay in the water all day long. River animal adaptations. Animals that live in the river have very difficult living environments because of the water. Because water is wet, animals that live in the river have to have special adaptations to help them survive when they're in the water. One example of a physical adaptation in an animal is their outer covering. So this muskrat is a mammal and he has fur. He has fur that helps him to become more waterproof, so the water doesn't actually get through his fur and get to his skin because he would get cold. Beavers also have very waterproof fur because they have a second layer of fur that's very tight against their skin. So the top layer, or the overcoat, allows the water to run off of their body, and the second layer closer to their body, the undercoat, keeps them warm and dry and prevents their skin from getting wet. The waterproof fur helps the muskrat and the beaver to stay warm in the water, especially in the winter when the water can become very, very cold. Mammals are warm-blooded animals, and that means that their temperature stays the same no matter what the temperature is outside, so their outer coverings have to help keep them warm. An otter is another example of a mammal. Otters have very thick fur that's covered in oil to help them stay waterproof too. Birds like these ducks also have oils that they spread over their feathers from a gland on the back of their tail. Ducks are always in the water, so their feathers have to keep them completely dry, somewhat like the mammal's fur keeps them dry. They take their beak and they spread those oils over their feathers so that they can continue to stay in the water without getting cold. Birds' feathers are also designed to keep the water from getting through the feathers, and it rolls right off of the feathers. Turtles are reptiles, and they are an example of a cold-blooded animal, so their body temperature stays the same as the air temperature around them, and it changes when it gets cold. So when it gets really cold, they have to stop moving. The physical adaptation of reptiles that makes the biggest difference for them are the scales on their outsides of their bodies. The scales help to protect them from the water and keep the water that's inside of their bodies inside of them so they don't lose the water or dehydrate. Amphibians, or frogs, have no scales. They only have skin. So that skin needs to stay moist for them to be able to survive. If they're out of the water for too long, their skin will dry out and they can't survive like that. This crayfish has an exoskeleton on the outside of his body. So he's covered in a shell that covers his entire body and allows him to be able to be out of the water as well as inside of the water. Other adaptations that help animals to survive in the water are their feet and their legs. Animals that live in the water have webbed feet so that they can swim better by using the webbing between their toes to push against the water and move forward better than if they didn't have the webbing. These are animals that swim in the water, like ducks and geese and beavers. Beavers only have webbing on their back feet. Their back feet are used to help them to swim better, and their front feet are used to help them to hold on to their food. Animals that don't swim in the water, but just stand in the water, like this great blue heron, have very long toes and large feet that help them to stand very still in the water while they wait for their food to swim between their legs. Great blue herons fool the fish by making their legs look like sticks, so that when the fish swim between their legs, the great blue heron uses its long neck and its pointy beak to reach down and catch the fish while it's swimming right between its legs. Another type of adaptation that animals that live in water have are their tails. Beavers have very unique tails that they use as a rudder to help them swim better, but also they use their tails to help prop them up while they're sitting. When they are chewing on a tree, their tails help them to get farther up the tree to chew that tree down so it falls into the water. Fish also use their tails to help them swim by moving their tails side to side. Their bodies are also streamlined and skinny to help propel them through the water better. Kind of like this diving duck, a merganser, that dives down into the water. It has a very streamlined or skinny body that helps it to be able to dive down and get through the water faster to be able to catch the fish underneath the water. Another adaptation that animals have for living underneath the water are their eyes. Their eyes are covered with a layer of mucus, a protective layer that helps them to be able to keep their eyes open underneath the water. Fish use that protective layer to help them to survive under the water, and they never have to blink. Fish even sleep with their eyes open. Mammals like the beaver have a third eyelid that's clear and allows them to swim underneath the water and see where they're going, and the eyelid protects their eyes from the water. Beavers also have valves in their ears, kind of like earplugs, so when they swim underneath the water doesn't get inside of their ears. Because they are mammals, beavers have to breathe air out of the water, but animals like fish breathe the air that's in the water through gills on the sides of their bodies. Crayfish breathe through gills as well. They have gills that line the side of their body and allow them to take the oxygen out of the water and process that oxygen just like we would, but they do it through their gills. They can also breathe out of the water because their shell keeps their bodies from drying out. As long as they have moisture along their gills, they can continue to breathe even when they're out of the water. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, goodbye, we sure did have some fun. Well, I hope you had a good time learning all about the animals in the river and the adaptations that they have that help them to be able to survive in the river. Come on down this weekend sometime. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, and check out the animals that you can find all along the trails around the Fox River here at Thousand Island.